What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you had an all right weekend. Things got even crazier. More news coming out. Bitcoin is still struggling below $17,000. You can see we attempted to break above it. Obviously, as we pointed out, we do have some massive resistance holding us down right here. And we're kind of just bouncing between this range, sort of between 16,200 and 17,500. We kind of just keep bouncing around that area, right? But in today's video, I'm actually going to put the TA at the end of the video because there is just so much that has been happening in this crypto space lately. And now you're hearing people worried about the fact that Crypto.com had a very suspicious, awkward transaction of about 80% of their reserves. You can see over here, they sent a whole crap load of Ethereum to Gate.io. Now they're saying, it was supposed to be a move to a new cold storage address, but we sent to a whitelisted external address. We worked with the Gate team and the funds were subsequently returned. So what is going on? CZ comes out and says if an exchange has to move any large amounts of crypto before or after they demonstrate their wallet addresses, it is a clear sign of problems. Stay away, stay safe, right? So what does this all mean and how much deeper does this go? Well, you can see right here, look at the Crow token, the Crypto Crow token, right? Look familiar, right? So these are the tokens that these exchanges have, right? And this is what happened basically to FTX with FTT. That was where most of their holdings were. And, once the token fell, I don't even know where it's at today, but, quite a substantial, well over 90%. That's obviously where the dominoes started to fall. But the bigger question is how much deeper does this rabbit hole go for FTX and SAM? And is there another party that we should be looking into? Guys, we're going to go over some stuff today. I don't know how much of this is true, how much of this is rumors, but I can tell you there is something very big boiling at the bottom of this, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. Someone's going to get to the bottom of it. The truth will come out, but this is really crazy what is developing. So if you guys are not subscribed, definitely get subscribed. We're going to be doing solid content as this rolls out. So just a few things to clarify, and I got a lot to say about SAM and FTX and that debacle, but just talking about the Crypto.com situation that's going on. So as you guys could see, they did have the CEO. He came out. He was, answering questions about what's going on over there. So obviously they sent 320,000 Ether over to Gate.io. But he goes on to say it happened 3 weeks ago. It has nothing to do with Gate doing the proof of reserves. It had nothing to do with the craziness of the FTX collapse. Then some people were asking them, why do you have 20% of your reserves in Shiba Inu? And basically, in a nutshell, they said that, well, Doge and Shiba were very hot last year, and those are users, clients' funds that they are just holding for them. So they're saying the reason they have so much Shiba Inu is because so many people were trading it and holding it, and they're holding it on behalf of their clients. Now, I'm saying take all of this with a grain of salt because, it's literally Sam FTX had come out and said, yeah, everything's fine. And then the next day, it wasn't fine, right? So obviously, don't trust, verify. He says that, all of this FUD about them being insolvent is not true. And they said over a year ago, they did send $1 billion to FTX, but they did recover it. They said they only had about $10 million when FTX was shut down. And they also were saying that some people were making parallels between FTX and wondering if they use Crow as collateral for loans. They said we never use Crow as collateral for even a single loan in our history, not even once. We haven't needed to use it. So, it seems like they're coming out saying everything's okay, but I'm just saying be careful. Where have we heard this before? Kraken, Coinbase, and Gate have been the first to publish their proof of reserves, including liabilities as part of their audits, but then we are hearing some people that say it looks a little bit suspicious, right? So basically, in a nutshell, guys, as I've been saying on this channel, you are always taking a risk when you're using an exchange, right? For example, I am currently using BitGet as an exchange to trade, right? That's just where I like trading at the moment, but I do not keep more funds on there because I don't know anything about these exchanges. Nobody knows, right? I mean, look at FTX, right? These guys were too big to fail, and look what happened, right? So, any of these exchanges, thank goodness none of the exchanges that have actually gone down have I ever talked about. We've never talked about Celsius on this channel. We've never talked about BlockFi on this channel. I've never talked about FTX unless it was just basically in the news on this channel. But some of the ones we have spoke about, right? We've used Bybit and Femex and Prime XBT I used a little bit, currently using BitGet, but guys, just be safe. Any of these guys, we don't know what these exchanges are doing in the background. We don't know who they're affiliated with. We don't know how many, exchanges were done with FTX and their funds and how much exposure any of these guys had, right? So I think the main thing, the biggest takeaway, hopefully right now, is to number one, share with people outside the space that this is not a Bitcoin thing. Okay, this has nothing to do with the Bitcoin blockchain or the Bitcoin network. This has to do with certain individuals. Like Mark Cuban actually pointed out, he said these blowups have not been crypto blowups, they have been banking blowups, lending to the wrong entity, misvaluations of collateral, arrogant arbs, followed by depositor runs. See long-term capital savings and loan and subprime blowups, all different versions of the same story. And here's a clip of literally Kevin O'Leary saying, if there's ever a place I could be that I'm not going to get in trouble, it's going to be at FTX. So there were a lot of big players. I mean, Kevin, I think he had like $1 billion on there or something. Lots of people were hit from this, right? So obviously, as I said, the biggest takeaway, get yourself cold hardware wallet, or worst case, you can download Exodus. It's a hot wallet. You can download it on your desktop if you want, but ultimately, right now is the time to educate yourself on controlling your own keys, right? I'm going to keep funds on exchanges. I am, because I trade, but I understand those risks, and I don't have more on the exchange than I'm willing to one day find out that's not there anymore, right? So that's like the biggest takeaway of all of this. But now we go into the deep and crazy part. And I don't know how long this is going to take, but I want to explain this. So basically, this was 2 days ago. And actually, if you guys want to sort of see a quick timeline, In Crypto broke it down. So pretty much if you missed it, this is just a quick recap. So November 2nd, concerns over large Alameda FTF holdings. November 6th, Binance CEO announces FTT liquidation. Alameda offers to buy FTT from Binance. FTX USDC withdrawals are stuck, hinting at low reserves. November 7th, SBF reassures that assets are fine. November 8th, restrictions were made on withdrawals. Binance announces FTX acquisition. 2 days later, the Binance deal gets canceled. November 11th, FTX US, and Alameda file for bankruptcy. And November 12th, FTX and FTX US remaining funds are drained. And then there is a hack. Conveniently, there just happens to be a hack directly after all of this. And then they urge everyone to start to delete all the apps, right? They say there's malware. They want to wash away the evidence, right? So really, really crazy stuff. So this takes us to where Sam Bankman-Fried is now under supervision in the Bahamas. They said he was looking to flee to Dubai. So it's him, the co-founder Gary Wang, and director of engineering Nishad Singh are understood to be under supervision by the local authorities. Now, keep in mind, you can see right here, there was an agreement that the Emirates signed bilateral, enhancing enforcement cooperation with the United States, meaning that the U.S. and the UAE have an agreement on evidence sharing, judicial cooperation, and assistance in criminal investigations and prosecutions. As a result, U.S.-based fugitives attempting to move to Dubai will most likely be detained and sent back to the United States. So, fast forwarding here, on November 11th, FTX tweeted that it was instructed by Bahamian HQ regulation and regulators in the Bahamas to facilitate the withdrawal of funds. 1 day later, the Securities Commission denied instruction or authorizing FTX to prioritize withdrawals for clients in the country. They said the commission wishes to advise that it has not directed, authorized, or suggested the FTX Digital Markets Ltd. The prioritization of withdrawals for Bahama clients, right? So this is just another lie that they're caught in, right? So, okay, first they open withdrawals, but only to people in the Bahamas, and I'm assuming that's friends and family, right? I'm sure they were all able to get their money out. They're saying that they didn't tell them to do this. So once again, Sam and friends get caught in another lie. And then there's a convenient hack that just happens out of nowhere, right? We're going to get to that in just a minute. But you can see over here, on top of all of this happening, you also have the deployer contract for FTX Exchange, which the tokens, FTT. Now, all of a sudden, there's a mysterious amount of tokens that just get minted out of thin air, printed 192 million tokens, which is about a $380 million value, and it was sent to a wallet that was freshly created. The release of the new FTT tokens came without any announcement from the exchange and follows a report that they got hacked on Friday. The number of freshly created tokens eclipsed FTT's prior circulating supply, which was about 133 million. Now, Binance had ended up basically freezing, saying that they're going to freeze withdrawals and deposits, because they don't know where these tokens came from. Now, this goes into another scandal. Actually, if for example, I'm going to get to this video from BitBoy in a minute, but he obviously, as you guys know, like, however you guys feel about BitBoy, ultimately, he kind of was the guy that brought a lot of the attention to this, calling Sam the devil and the legislation and the people he was working with and what he was trying to accomplish behind closed doors. And he also went on to explain how they were doing things like this shady, basically minting tokens, or really what they were doing was sort of, I guess, counterfeiting, right? Like printing tokens without people knowing. And he's saying that they were responsible. And apparently there's all this evidence coming out soon, which I will relay it to you as I hear it, that these guys, FTX Alameda, were basically responsible for all of the major crashes this year. They were responsible in some fashion or form for what happened with Celsius and what happened with Terra Luna and Voyager and all these other things. And now we're seeing that they're printing tokens. Why? Why are they trying to do this? It's very weird. Are they forcing? I don't know. It's just like I said, there's too much information to go over. They said they were responsible for the scam wicks that happened because they were basically printing tokens and, shorting while dumping and just crazy manipulation, stuff like that. So, this video right here, and this is only part one of it. It goes so much deeper than this. He talks about how basically that SBF could ultimately be a front for this guy. And I don't really know much about him, but they're saying, Dan Friedberg, this guy, he was affiliated with them. And basically what he did was he had this thing called God mode that they used to do in these online poker games, and it allowed him to pretty much see what their players were, what your cards were of your, opponent, right? Which would obviously allow you to win because you could play against the cards and it was called God mode. Now, they're saying that there was some type of a God mode backdoor that was put into the FTX exchange so that this hack could happen. They could do all these things without triggering any of the alarms on the system. And at the same time, they're basically also in like self-destruction mode where they're trying to wipe away all the evidence. In fact, this guy deleted all of his information. All of his pictures now are gone off the internet. So there is now this sort of potential that he is the big guy behind it, and that, the gang of four, the three I just named plus Caroline, are sort of the fall guys. However, I still think that they clearly were, doing some wrongdoings. But then, this comes out from Money over on Twitter. And I'm just going to read this to you. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff to read, and this goes even deeper. So that's like that story, right? So there's Sam and everything he was doing and what Alameda was doing, and they were responsible for all these crashes, and they were manipulating the market. And then we have this guy, Dan, but then we also have a potential scandal for the Biden administration. Now, this is crazy, guys. Obviously, I'm not taking sides here on any political issue. I'm just stating the facts. So obviously, April 29th of 2019, Biden announces his presidential campaign. 13 days later, Sam Bankman-Fried, son of Barbara Fried, Stanford professor and co-founder of political fundraising organization Mind the Gap, launches FTX crypto exchange. The exchange is magically a success overnight. SBF becomes the biggest donor to Biden, right? They sent over $400 million, right, in Democratic donations, which, where did that money come from, right? Now, that's another question. Was that funds from your clients you were using? Is this illegal money? So anyway, they say the exchange isn't a success overnight. And then on election day, FTX implodes completely. If you think the scandal is done, it goes even deeper. So Gabe Bankman-Fried, brother to Sam, also a former Jane Street trader, is founder of Guarding Against Pandemics. He was a legislative correspondent for the U.S. House of Representatives and an advisor to large political donors in the Democrat Party. The family Aunt Linda Fried is a World Economic Forum member on the Global Agenda Council on Aging. The father, Joseph Bankman, is a Stanford professor who has lobbied on behalf of hedge fund managers before Congress and FTX head of ventures and commercial at FTX Ventures, Amy Wu, started with the Clinton Foundation years ago. Nishad Singh, FTX Director of Engineering, has spent over $8 million for Democratic candidates. And finally, Obama's Commodity Future Trading Commissioner, Mark Wetjen, was literally the head of FTX policy and regulation. Reports were that the organization wanted to spend over $1 billion on the Democratic Party for 2024. He says a massive massive money laundering operation has just been broken open. Now, tinfoil hat conspiracy time. Is that really the case? Some people are saying this was all just a ploy by, Gary Gensler and the SEC, and they wanted to see it collapse, right? They wanted a reason to come in and have to regulate. Now, that's one theory. Then there's the other theory that, this could be a giant money laundering operation. Now, just to show you a really quick chart, this is just strange how this all ties in, right? So we have Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, former professor at MIT. Then we have Glenn Ellison, professor of economics at MIT, former boss of Gary Gensler. Caroline Ellison, CEO of Alameda. She dated Sam Bankman-Fried, and she is the daughter of Glenn Ellison. Are you seeing how this all kind of ties in? It's very strange, not to mention that Sam was an MIT graduate. So it seems like there is a bigger story happening right now. And, at the end of the day, ultimately, we don't really know the answer. I think this is going to come to light at some point. I don't want to make accusations or speculations as to what is going on, but it does really seem to show, or at least what we are seeing recently, is that this is much, much bigger and much, much deeper than just Sam Bankman-Fried and Alameda. This is obviously something very deep. This could have ties to political parties. This could have ties to Dan Friedman. This could have a lot of implications. And I think this is probably, I know this is going to go down in history as one of the craziest things that has ever happened in the crypto space. So let me know what you guys think about all this. There's even more accusations. There's stuff I didn't even want to put on my channel because I actually thought if I said it, I would probably get demonetized. Crazy allegations about these guys' affiliations. And, there was that guy who was trying to expose, the ring of people. I don't want to say the word. And, he ended up dead. Right? They found him drowned. So, there's just like really, really crazy stuff going on, guys. But I just wanted to give you an update on everything that's happening. So we will continue to keep you updated. This story just keeps getting crazier. And like I said, right now, I do have, some funds on exchanges because I'm trading. I actively trade. That's the risk I take. But as I said, if you're not trading, there's really no reason to have your funds on exchanges. So, check the links below. I have a video on how to set up and use a ledger. You can just Google it, check it out. It's in my recommended videos. Get yourself security, self-custody, and, be careful because we don't know any of these exchanges. We just don't know. Even the ones that I use, that I've talked about, I just don't know. Thank God none of the ones we've ever talked about on this channel have gone under. But guys, you never know, okay? So that is just obviously that. Now, for those of you that are looking to trade, as you guys can see, again, we're back down here at this level. Now, this would be the level where I would have taken the trade last time. The reason that I'm a little hesitant on it this time is because every time you see a good setup, CZ tweets, SBF tweets, a bit of news comes out, and price goes crazy, right? So right now, we're in this crazy, news-driven tsunami, and it's very difficult to make successful trades in this environment, right? I guess you could just wait for bad news and short. That seems to work, right? But you can see, nevertheless, we have actually maintained support above the $16,170 level. And, I've talked about the interest. This is actually just a drawing from the last time, but you can see the interest right here because of that weekly close, right? We had that weekly close back here. We had this level where we came down and retested it, and now we are still there again. And we are still in this giant falling wedge, which, as I said, long-term is a bullish pattern, but short-term, it's a little bit scary. Now, one thing that I will point out, on the lower 4-hour technicals, we have actually flipped this downward sloping trend thus far, as I'm making this video, into support. So there is a good chance that if we do continue to get confirmation and we do have a bounce out of this zone, in other words, if we, because so far we have had confirmation on the downwards trend, if Bitcoin breaks above 16,800, which you can see it did right here, fake out, but it wasn't confirmed. So if we get a bounce like this, we come down, retest it, and bounce, start to move up, that to me right there would signal that we are probably putting in a short-term double bottom and we may continue to the upside. That's sort of like, the positives potentially. But the reason that these levels need to hold is because if we have a look at the VPVR, there is not a lot of interest really anywhere between around 13,200 to 16,400, right? There are a lot of buys at around 14,005. And we do have 13.8K being the monthly close of the 2017 all-time high. So those are technical levels to keep in mind. But as far as levels of interest on the volume profile, the next level is 13,200, with the next level after that around 11,600. And you just have to pay attention to this because these are very psychological levels, especially for people that bought. Now, if you want to talk about something potentially positive, I don't want to end this video on a bad note. One little metric that we've always been able to use, I mean, I would say it's about 85% accurate. You know, not every single one of these spikes has been full confirmation, but you can see in here, whenever we get these levels, right, of big spikes on Coinbase specifically, this one was a little bit of a weird one because this was like mid-rally. But, you know, when you get those really like crazy ones that kind of come out of nowhere, you know, like right here, that was kind of just the big collapse crisis. So you could kind of say that was a little bit of a black swan, although you could say this is a black swan too. But, you know, if I just draw the parallels here, you know, if I just show you every single time that we have these types of volume spikes, they're pretty much coincided with virtually almost every time major tops or bottoms, right? And you can see right here, this one actually signaled the 2017 top. This one actually signaled the 2018 bottom. This one signaled the mid-cycle June 2019 rally. This one actually was the COVID crash bottom. This one was the the high. And even though, yes, we did come up here, technically speaking, even though it did go slightly higher, this really was the top. This doesn't really count. Traditionally, if you're going to just talk about real, TA, it wouldn't actually count. And then this one right here, arguably could it be the bottom? So that's like maybe a little bit of hopium we can take away in the charts. The other thing that I can say with pretty much certainty at this point is that the dollar has actually confirmed this breakdown. You can see it did break below this previous high, which it has never done on this entire run up. At no point has it fallen below, the previous high. It never fell below, never fell below. Never fell below, never fell below. Oh, and then here obviously did fall below, right? So that's something we could say. The dollar does appear that it is actually having that reversal, but unfortunately the industry, the crypto space, has a lot that it needs to clean up. And we have lost a lot of investor confidence. But I think what the most important thing is, number one, obviously not your keys, not your coins. But I think it's also important for us as the people in the space to be the educators, to explain to those that are looking in on the outside that this is not anything to do with Bitcoin. This has nothing to do with the network. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin's monetary policy. It has nothing to do with the miners. It has nothing to do with hash rate security. It has nothing to do with censorship resistance. Nothing to do with that, right? This has to do with a group of individuals who more things are coming to light. I saw something else on Twitter about something about this author, just like all different people affiliated with this stuff. But the main point is to explain to people that this is something that was done on a centralized exchange. All of the problems that we have seen, right, for Bitcoin, for the crypto space, has really come down to these crypto products, right? Mt. Gox. That had nothing to do with Bitcoin. That was an exchange that got hacked, right? Celsius, that was a lending platform that was doing things they shouldn't have been doing with clients' funds. SBF, FTX, same thing, right? Not Bitcoin, not even crypto as a whole, just centralized exchanges, and more specifically, the individuals that are making these terrible decisions on behalf of their clients without being transparent about it, right? So we need to educate and let people know that it's not Bitcoin, it's the people that are doing it in the background. And unfortunately, the industry is going to need some cleaning up. We had been talking about a flush out. We had been talking about the necessity to cleanse the space of these bad actors. And it sucks, going through a time like this, but it needs to be done in order to ultimately, clean the space up. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I know today was a little bit of a longer video. Lots of stuff going on, lots of theories. We don't know how far this contagion has spread. As I said, the safest thing anyone can do is get your coins off exchanges if you're not trading. If you are trading, then you know the risk, right? You're already taking a risk. You're trading, right? You could lose everything if you're using leverage, right? So you're already taking a risk. Just don't take more risk than you're willing to afford to lose. As I've said, for me personally, I don't have any funds on any exchanges. I have some on BitGet just because I'm using it to trade, I trust them as of now, but I don't know. Nobody knows. But that's the risk you take. I'm still going to swing trade this. I'm going to try to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can, dollar cost average. But at the same time, the majority of my funds, as the majority of your funds should be, on cold storage in somewhere safe, right? So if you are interested in learning how to trade, obviously you already know how I feel about the disclaimers and the risks and all that. We've gone over that time and time again, but you guys know what to do. Check the video popping up right here, right now. Make sure you get subscribed, turn on the bell notification. We're going to be keeping you updated on all this. So until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.